Go.
Hi, this is my grandfather, Joseph Kenton, and I'm here in Kansas City where he was born for his 90th birthday. He was born September 11th, 1921. And this interview is about him when he was in the Navy during World War II.
Continue.
Okay, so now I'll ask you some questions.
Some questions? Okay, go ahead.
How long were you in the Navy?
Well, the last time I signed up was September 30, 1941. I was released to inactive duty I was released from the Navy sometime in March of 1946. So that's about 4.5 years.
Wow. Okay, when did you go to war?
What do you mean by go to war?
Well, when were you put in action?
When were we in action?
No, like put in, action.
Active duty?
Yeah, active duty.
Well, after midshipman school, where we were 90-day wonders, I was assigned eventually to a destroyer off of Pearl Harbor. There were 4 destroyers in the division, and we were on the ping line, and we were Nimitz's Navy, active Navy that he could use to defend the islands.
That's cool.
And that was in June of 1942.
Okay, was this after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Sure, June 42, Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941. What? I can't hear you.
I'll tell you after. Okay. What was the date when you arrived at Pearl Harbor?
Well, as I can remember, and of course it isn't written in stone, I know it was after Midway, and Midway was about the 4th and 5th of June in 1942, so that they released us, so it was sometime about the middle of June in 1942.
What did it look like?
Well, you know, we were all wide-eyed and wanted to see for ourselves. There wasn't too much left from the attack. The battleship Oklahoma was still belly up off of Ford Island. The masts were still on the Arizona, though she was on the bottom. The bottom isn't very deep in Pearl Harbor. There were a couple of destroyers, the Cassin and the Downs, were alongside the pier where we tied up periodically, but other than that, it just looked like a busy, I don't know, I'd never seen a Navy base before, so I guess it looked like a Navy base to me.
Did you talk to any of the military people who were there on December 7th?
Oh yeah, the ship I was on was there on December 7th, and many times I talked to the guys who were aboard during the attack, heard interesting stories. I'll tell them to you if you want to hear them.
Sure.
One of them insisted, well, I don't know if you remember Pearl Harbor too well, but we were tied up where the destroyers normally tied up, along what in effect was the submarine slip on the way to the submarine base, and also that was the straight run to Ford Island, and that meant it was the straight run to where the battleships were. So that's where the Japanese torpedo planes flew down that slot. And this guy insisted. He waved at one of the pilots, and the pilots waved back. Now, I don't know, you could believe that or not as you wish. And then, of course, I talked to guys who went out in boats, tried to pull people out of the water. The water was oily and burning and so on.
How long were you stationed in Hawaii?
About a year.
What did you, never mind. What areas did your ship never mind.
Patrol out there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, what areas did you patrol?
Well, we were on what we used to call a ping line because we were an anti-submarine patrol guarding the entrance to Pearl Harbor. And the ping line ran from someplace off in Diamond Head all the way up to Bishop's Point. And if there were 2 of us patrolling, then we patrolled half of it. and if there was one of us patrolling, we patrolled the whole thing, which of course was kind of ridiculous because any good submarine captain could have navigated in while we were the other way.
What kind of ships were you on?
Well, that was a destroyer, a World War I destroyer, and later on she was converted to an APD, and that was the Schley, and her bow number as a destroyer was 103, which during World War II was the lowest bow number of any ship destroyer in service. The only other one was the Allen. The Allen's bow number was 66. She wasn't even a flush deck destroyer. She was so old, but she was in our division. And then after that, I was on a landing ship, an LSM, for a year or so.
That's cool. What positions were you in the Navy?
Well, I started in the shipman school like everybody else as an apprentice seaman, and then we became midshipmen. And when we were, in effect, graduated, we were commissioned as ensigns, which is comparable to a lieutenant in the Army. And positions, when I first went aboard the ship, I was the assistant communications officer. And at the end of the time I was aboard, I was, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, I just sneezed.
I was the gunnery officer and the senior watch officer. On the LSM, I was the captain.
That's cool. What was the biggest battle you were in?
Well, there was only one naval battle in the entire war. Do you know, in the entire war, are you aware of that? The only time ships actually fought other ships was in the Philippines, and I can't remember, when the southern Japanese arm came through and the old battleships ran across the T on them. Other than that, ships did not fight ships. So that's hard to answer. I mean, I was in lots of landings from Guadalcanal, New Georgia, and down in the Solomons, and New Guinea, and Bougainville. No, we were not at Bougainville, but we were Kwajalein and Eniwetok and Guam and China after the war, lots of places.
What was it like in Guadalcanal?
Well, when I was there, it was long after the initial assault, and the ground troops were still mopping up Japanese that were out in the jungle, but they did not attack Henderson Field, which was the whole target on Guadalcanal, is to have a landing strip. However, the Japanese did send bombers down from Bougainville from time to time to bomb the place.
What was it like in New Guinea?
New Guinea was a very strange place. We worked with the Army in New Guinea, and I think we probably made 4 or 5 different combat operation landings. And the Army used to say, we put them ashore, they saw the same Japanese, they chased them off in the jungle, they got back on the ships. After a week or 2, they rode up the coast, we put them ashore again, there were the same Japanese. But New Guinea was a pretty peaceful kind of an operation. We fired shore bombardments and stuff like that.
Where else were you in the Pacific?
You want to stop one?
I'm not sure how to stop it and start again.
All right. Where else in the Pacific? Well, I should have told you, like Guam and Philippines and Okinawa, in the Marshalls. I guess we even got a little battle scar for New Britain, although I don't know what we did there.
Did you see any ships sink?
Well, I saw the ones that I shot up sink down off New Guinea one afternoon. I won't give the whole story of how we happened to be there, but anyway, there were a couple of these barges or something with people on them, and the old man let me shoot at them, and we shot them up, and later on, as we were steaming back down to where the fleet was, one of the lookouts said, look, one of them is sinking, and look, Yeah, I saw it sink.
Wait, so that's when you were the gunnery captain?
That's when I was the gunnery officer.
And your gun shot the ships and...
We surely did.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, now, Luke, I don't know how long your program is. I could go for 3 or 4 hours if you just give me a drink of water in between. What do you want me to add?
Anything.
Well, I think it was a very different war from the wars we're involved in today. World War II was a major effort by the entire United States. Today there's a war going on in Afghanistan, and you and I sit here and we don't even feel it. It doesn't affect what we eat, it doesn't affect the lights, it doesn't affect anything. It's very different and very unfair to the men and women and families that are involved. Okay?
Thank you, Grandpa.
Okay. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Grandpa.
Oh, thank you.